Hey guys, welcome back to I'm an actor, not a therapist. I'm Sammy. So, what's going on? So, I've been doing a lot of thinking lately, right? And one of the things that I've kind of come up with about myself, because I've been doing a lot of self reflection, I've had a lot of time on my hands lately. And while that has been a very interesting spot, I think I have spiraled more often in the past month than I have ever before, just because I have time to hyperfixate on things. It's also been very beneficial where I have learned some things about saying no. I am a recovering people pleaser. That is just who I am. If somebody were to give me an opportunity, I would say yes as to not hurt their feelings. However, if you've been following me on social media, if you've been listening to this podcast in the past month, you know that I was recently let go of the 9 to 5 job. I'm fine. Let's start there. If you're new to this podcast and this is the first time you're hearing this, I'm okay. I've been doing, what we all do in the in-between. I've been doing the job hunting and the interviewing and things like that. But I've also, at the recommendation of friends, family, my therapist, have been really diving into the creative projects that for years I've been saying, I don't have time for this. I have to do X, Y, Z. I don't have time for this. I would love time for this, but I don't have time for this. Well, now I've got nothing but time. And I'm slowly building what it is I've been trying to build over the past at least 3 years since I've been on social media as actively as I am. Since I can say that I have a social media presence and all of that, I am slowly building this brand that I've been building for the past 3+ years. But also in the in-between, I have obviously been trying to obtain that next thing, that next gig, that next job. So I've been interviewing and applying like crazy and, contacting agencies and things like that. So I've been doing my due diligence to get all of my life things together. Excuse me. And one of the things that I was offered, I turned down. And here's why. You would think, job hunting, you're just going to say yes to the first thing that comes your way. And that is how I wound up in a job that I didn't really like a few years ago. So instead of jumping at the first opportunity I was presented with, and I'm not going to call it an opportunity because I said no to it. I'm going to call it a choice. The first choice I was presented with, I said no to. And here's why. When I was given the description, I knew that I wouldn't like it. But I went to the interview and I presented myself professionally. I gave all the right answers and a choice was laid at my feet. And it was not going to serve me at all. It wasn't going to serve my mental health, my physical health, my emotional health, and it wasn't going to pay my bills. And while the other 3 are important, that last one hurts a little bit. So I looked at my real options. I could take the choice that I was being given and I could run with it and somehow make it work. Or I could take a breath and say, you don't want this. You don't like this. You don't want this. And if you do this, you will not be happy. You will not be healthy. You are working your way towards being happy and healthy. If you do this, this is not just a step back. This is like 10 steps back. And are you really willing to backslide that much for a choice? And I answered myself and I said, no, I'm not. Now, if you had asked me and presented me with that same choice 3 years ago, I would have taken it and ran. Oh my gosh, I would have taken it and ran. Make the hunt stop. Make it stop. Let me just land somewhere. And then I would have gotten sick. I would have spiraled. My mental health would be shot. The things that I have been working so hard for in the past few years would all be gone with a single yes. I am a recovering people pleaser. And I would think nothing a few years ago of taking an opportunity that wouldn't necessarily serve me, but would serve somebody else. Does that make sense? Even outside of my 9 to 5 that I've had for the past several years, the side hustles that I was even doing were to serve other people, not necessarily myself. And when this chapter was, and I'm going to call it that for my own reasons, when this chapter was opened for me at the beginning of the month, I said to myself, you have a couple of different options. You can either freak out and lay on the couch until something new comes along. You can go on the hunt again and you can find something that's really going to make you happy. Or you can really pursue what it is you've been telling yourself you don't have the time for. Here's what I decided to do. And much love to a friend of mine that, kind of helped me do this roadmap. Actually, a couple of different friends helped me do this roadmap. And here's what I decided to do. The first night of this new chapter, I allowed myself to have that I call eat cookies and cry night. I allowed myself to mourn what had happened, to mourn the plans that I had made for the first half of my year. And then the next morning, I got up and I said, this is how this is going to work. This is how I'm going to make this all work. And I started throwing myself headlong into the creative projects that I've wanted to get done. I started writing again. I started, creating original stuff for social media. I started taking the pictures, making the logos, putting together more professional looking things to be able to put up for people's enjoyment. More recently, I have been sparked again to write short stories. And I hadn't done that in a year, maybe a little longer. No, it was longer. The last short story I wrote was actually in 22. And it's 24 now. But I picked up the pen again and I started writing some really cool short stories. And in the meantime, I'm still looking for that next thing. I'm still looking for the thing that will pay the bills while I'm doing the creative thing, but I'm being selective about it. I want something that will align with what it is I'm looking to do with my life, something that I will not dread going to, that won't suck the energy out of me, that won't suck me dry emotionally, mentally, physically. That is what I'm looking for. And I made a very clear stance when this all started happening that this was what it was that I was going to do. And so when this choice was put at my feet not too long ago, I turned it down because I knew it wasn't going to align with what it was I wanted to do at all. Now, as I said, I'm okay. I'm in a spot that I'm okay. I am slowly figuring out the actual life column stuff. But while I figure out the life column stuff, I am doing the stuff that I've always said I wanted to do. A couple episodes ago, we talked about goals for 2024, right? We had this whole talk about goals versus resolutions, and I had all these goals and stuff. But I didn't share any of my goals here because at the time I didn't know how I was going to go after any of those goals. I just wrote my goals, big, wild, imaginative goals. And I have hit one of those goals in pursuit of my creative career. And I'm very proud of myself for doing that. So now I'm establishing myself in a way that not only will get me recognized online, but people can find me and hire me out for real world work, for stage, for voice, for different kinds of things like that. And I'm looking at what is happening right now in my life as an opportunity. And I'm looking at the offers, let's call them. I'm looking at the offers as choices, one by one, and I make them one by one. I will either take the choice or I won't take the choice. If I don't take the choice, then I have to justify to myself why. I have to explain that to myself just a little bit as I recover from being a people pleaser. I know that as I go forward, the choices will get easier. The no's will get easier. The choices might not get easier, they might get harder. But the ability for me to say no without having to justify or explain it to myself will go away. It will just be, Sammy said no to this. She had a reason. We move on. I'm not quite there yet, though. I'm not quite there yet. I have had to talk myself through some of the choices that I've recently made, some of the no's I've recently made. But at the end of the day, I know that every time I say no, it's for a very specific reason. I never say no just to say no. That's not a thing I do. But I say no for very specific reasons. And I think that that is very important. No matter what the scenario is, it's very important. Because this also goes in line with setting your boundaries, right? We talk about boundaries all the time here. Because as I'm learning to set them and stick to them, I want to impart to you all what it is I'm learning so that hopefully you can learn with me as well. So one of the things that I'm exercising and doing is setting and upholding my own boundaries. And with me saying no to certain things that have come up, I have been allowing myself and upholding myself to my own boundaries. I'm not asking for people's permission. When I turn down these choices, I don't, run to somebody and say, well, what do you think? It's not going to affect anybody else's life but mine, y'all. The choices that you make, the opportunities you take or don't take, at the end of the day, will only affect you. I'm going to say that one more time for the kids in the back. The choices that you make will only affect you. Will they upset people? Sure. Will they make people look at you side-eye sometimes? Oh, absolutely. But at the end of the day, the choices you make will affect you, right? Does this make sense? I hope this makes sense. And while other people can be involved in our choices, if I tell somebody, "Hey, I don't want to be your friend anymore," that's going to affect them. Obviously, that's going to affect them. It'll either upset them, or they'll just be apathetic and walk away, or whatever the case is. I mean, obviously, you're not your own individual continent. But if I turn around and say to somebody, "I don't want to be your friend anymore," then that's me walking away. And that's me making that choice. And that's me knowing tomorrow morning when I get up, that person will no longer be in my life because of a choice I made. We can make choices, but we have to be sure that we are very willing, very, very willing to look ourselves in the mirror the next day and know that life going forward is going to be as a result of the choice that we made, right? And you never really know what the right choice is, right? You never really fully know. Hindsight is always 2020. And I talked about this a lot in a philosophy class that I took in college. And the professor at the time showed the class an episode of Futurama. And the episode, you can still find it. I don't remember what season, what the title of the show is, or anything like that. But the whole thing centers around a box. And the box contains a universe. And one of the characters is, told, don't look in the box, protect the box, blah, blah, blah. And they wind up going in the box anyway. And, chaos obviously ensues because it's Futurama. But the point is, they looked in the box based on a coin flip. I mean, I don't know any better analogy for making life choices, right? So on one side of the coin, you can make one choice. On the other side of the coin, you can make another choice. Whatever decision you make, you live with and you carry on your life with. But I'm waffling, and I know I'm waffling. This podcast is a big old waffle anyway. One day I will organize myself enough to back some of this stuff up sometimes. But right now this is all based on conversations I've had with people and my therapist and my own life choices. But all this to say, we have to make the decisions and the choices that are going to better our lives. Because at the end of the day, at the end of that choice, you're the only one that's going to be affected by it. If that makes sense. If I decide to take the choice, if I decided, when I was presented with that opportunity, when I was presented with, do you want this or not? If I had said yes, a couple of things would have happened. A, the hunt would have ended because I would have taken a job. 2, I would be miserable. 3, my mental health would decline. 4, you all would probably stop hearing from me because I wouldn't have the capacity to do this anymore. And in 3 months, I would be doing this all over again, because it would get to a point that I would be so upset and so miserable, and my mental health would have declined so much that I, being the self-preserver that I've become, would have quit and would have said, I'm out. I can't do this anymore. And I would be right back to where I am right now in this moment. So skipping over all of the I'm completely miserable steps, I allowed myself to stay true to my boundaries and allowed myself to really wait I will wait for an opportunity, or I will wait for something to come along creatively. It won't be long. That much I know. I can feel it, you guys. I can feel it. Something's going to happen soon and it's going to be good. Um, but until then, I keep moving forward in the direction that I want to go in, dictated by nobody else except myself. And that is going to be the way that I start the journey away from being a people pleaser. And I invite you to do the same thing. One choice at a time. It can be as small as what you're wearing for the day. Start with small decisions. What you're wearing for the day, what you're going to eat for breakfast. How much water you're going to drink. Little things that are isolated and within your complete control that literally involve nobody else but your own well-being. And then build from there. That's my advice. Take it, leave it, throw it in the garbage, whatever it is you want to do with it. But that's kind of what I'm learning, and that's kind of what I've been up to lately. And I hope that you were able to learn something, get something out of this. Hopefully you had a good time. If I made you think, or you liked the episode, or anything along those lines, please like, comment, subscribe, leave a review, share it with your friends. It really does help, and I really genuinely appreciate it. But until next time, I hope you all have a fabulous, fabulous week, and we will chat later. Have a great day, guys.